Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm happy that you have the time to listen to what I'm about to say, because what I'm going to tell you all within the course of this vlog will inevitably include the most important information that you will ever hear from a human being. And the subject is self-mastery. Now, self-mastery includes the ability to actually determine your very destiny, even your so-called ultimate destiny. In other words, it's the ability to achieve whatever goal and objective you have, whether great or small. This is a very serious thing we're talking about here, because if I tell you that I have the ability to achieve any objective, whether great or small, that actually technically equates that I have the ability to accomplish anything, and even to determine how the future will be. And as part of that process, though less important than actually determining the future, I also have the ability to foresee the future to a certain degree, because what I do right now is directly shaping the future itself. Now, you can live with that, or you can actually live with it and have it serve you, or you can live with it and be incompetent. If you don't seek to master your destiny, then you're not going to, and it will be random. But that's the problem, is that the superstitious and idiotic belief systems of this modern world have led so many to believe that their lives are a coincidence, and that what happens to them is a coincidence, and that it can be rightfully said that there is a higher power. There is God, and that's good. He gives us the ability to actually master our destinies in accordance with His will, of course, using wisdom. And if you register this fact, you're about to embark on the greatest journey, and your life will become absolutely mega good compared to how it has been before. Because what I'm actually communicating to you is that, first of all, you can actually master your destiny. That basically equates, and you can live the healthiest and the wealthiest and the most blessed and the most successful in a good way, in good measure though, than you ever had imagined possible, and moreover actually accomplish the greatest and the best things you've ever imagined, and that with a general certainty based on the amount of self-discipline and organized, wise working methods that you apply in your life. So at the most basic levels, it's called wise navigation, or you have to be watchful and wisely navigate life so that you live in harmony with the cycles of life as much as possible. And the way that this works is quite simply the following way. At any given point in time, you are actually in about 7 or even actually 9 different life cycles at any given point in time. And I wonder if anybody is receiving this message, and I hope so. I don't even know if anyone will see this. I imagine so. I hope so. Yet it's important to get this information out there so that others can prosper too, because you see, this has helped us a lot. Been able to actually prosper big time and master the most challenging things that a human could ever experience successfully with this wisdom. Thank God Almighty. So at any given point, right, how do you master your destiny in a nutshell? Watch what I'm doing. It's this simple. It's actually this simple. You check what time it is, what hour of the day it is, and you only use a wintertime calculation of time, even if it's the summertime. You do not use the summertime calculation. I'm going to explain why. It's because if you do, then you have time that's artificial that you're reading where the clocks have been set forward an hour, and that results in an artificial condition that is not truthful. In other words, you always use a wintertime calculation of time. So that in that case, it's like 5:58 p.m. right now on a Wednesday. That's the real time that it is. 26th of March, 2025, right? Okay. So the first of these approximately, let's start just with 7 basic cycles, right? Going from short to long. So the first cycle that you actually pay attention to is the following one, and that's the daily period of the cycles of life, the daily period of 3 hours and 25 minutes that you're currently in. And of these, there are actually 7 a day, and then 7 days goes on to make a strong, right? What they call a week. Great saying from Brother Iodonis there about the strong. So, okay, you've got the day here, right? The date, the hour, the minute. You got the daily period. You're in the 3 hour, 25 minute time frame of a daily period. Like right now, for example, from 5:08 p.m. today till 8:34 p.m. You have a G period. It's a daily period of G here on a Wednesday evening. Okay. So therefore then, first of all, you read the description of the daily period of the cycles of life that you're in. Now, this is all written of in a very, very valuable book called Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life. Okay, so we know what daily period of the cycles of life that we're in. And in this particular period that we are in right now, right, there are particular things that are perpetuous. It's a time for certain things within the parameters of, earth, human, and life activity. And it's not the time for other things. So then you basically discern what is perpetuous to be accomplished right now in business, in personal life, in health life, etc. And you do those things and they work. Versus ignorance, and that would be like, just trying to do this now, making a random decision, and it just doesn't really work. It doesn't bear fruit because it wasn't the time for it. Okay, that's a little lengthy now. I'm just going to keep it simple. You've got the daily period of 3 hours, 25 minutes. So we're in a daily period. That's the first cycle to pay attention to. Then you have the short lunar unit that manifests itself as the tides, right? High or low tides. So then you have the long lunar unit that's 3.5 days long, where either it's positive or negative. Now, the reference point for identifying this is the date, the exact time and date of the new moon or the full moon. As a general point of reference, you have, I wonder if anybody's going to learn from this. I think so. I suspect so. I just hope that I'm utilizing my time wisely here. I think that I am. Obviously, somebody will see this and have the time to study this and read the book for themselves and benefit from this. You have the point and the time and date and the minute of the new moon as a reference point to start with, or the time and date and minute of the full moon. So basically, 3.5 days after a new moon, you have a negative 3.5 day lunar unit. And then after those 3.5 days, you have a positive one. And then again, later, 3.5 days before the full moon, you have a positive long lunar unit again. So you can always identify whether you're in a positive or a negative 3.5 day lunar unit by how many days it is till either a full moon or a new moon. You have to do some counting. Okay. It's easy though. It's a fun and an important process. If there's anything you could be doing during the day other than praising God and living it up legitimately, this is it, because this is like your basic life navigation. Okay, you have to be watchful. Okay, so you've got the long lunar unit, right? Then you have the annual life cycle period that you're in, where starting on your birthday, over the course of 365 days, you have 7 52-day periods wherein it is a particularly propitious time for certain things to be accomplished, to be manifested, to be made real, right? In business life, health life, and personal life. Okay. Then you have the overall simple period of human life that covers a time frame from the moment when you were born and took your first breath. That is when your overall earthly human life cycle began. And that goes from 0 to 144 years. So now if you're like I am, for example, 36 years old, right? You go, okay, so you check how many cycles of 7 is that since 0? You can identify it, read in the book. Oh, you're in the 6th simple period of overall human life, because 6 times 7 is 42, and it's a 7-year segment. So 42 minus, right, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36 approximately, right? It pans out. It's all in the book. Don't worry about the details of what I'm presenting to you. Just listen in, get an overview, and then how to exactly do this is also written in the book, yet I'm communicating information from this in a kind of a practical presentational way. So then you also need to know your soul personality, because if you know your soul personality, first of all, so this may sound strange, you have to know your soul personality. Yeah. So what that is that there's a description of the soul personality of every person based on their birthday, and it has an A and a B polarity, because there's obviously the cycles of life, they overlap into each other a little bit, because it could be said that life is like one big cycle that has cycles within it, yet there's a time and a place for everything specifically. So what is that? The daily period, the short lunar unit, the long lunar unit, the annual life cycle period, then the simple period of overall human life, and then your soul personality. And there is another cycle that's mentioned in the book, although we have to say that it's rather questionable in terms of its ultimate validity. And they talk about a cycle of reincarnation. Now, the problem with that is that reincarnation literally equates in the flesh again in Latin, and it stems from, or originates actually, predominantly from Hinduism. And Hinduism has an idea of emanation philosophy that actually man is emanated from an external deity. Rather, whereas we say, like our boss said, I and my Father are one, and that is saying that God is within us. And then, so this abstract, this kind of an idea, think about it. Reincarnation as a theory or as a belief system is like a victimization mindset. Because it's like, you cannot honestly try to tell me that I don't have the ability to actually determine my destiny, nonetheless to actually choose when I quote unquote exist as a human being or not. Wow, it's as if, it's like as if it was like God speaking through me right there. But see, God is within us, and it's actually correct. What I was saying is right, because so you have 7 cycles. Now, one of them is said to be the cycle of reincarnation. The problem with reincarnation is that it stems from an idolatrous belief system that is more full of victimization rather than self-empowerment. And like I said, the reason is because, see, okay, I think we've covered that enough. What I'm saying is that don't pay attention to emanation philosophy from Hinduism or reincarnation as a belief system, because it actually basically just expresses victimization rather than self-empowerment. Now, we know for a very fact that our soul, okay, that's a breath of life, yet our soul, our thoughts, feelings, emotions, active will, sense of self, that our soul is from the Creator, and the Creator is ever living, and so we are also like eternal souls, yet it's like you're actually alive in this human being this time, and this is it. And don't worry about what was or what's going to be so much, or if there's going to be another incarnation or there was one before. It's not really as relevant as the fact that you're alive today, and you should live in the fullness with all those good blessings from the Creator today. Now, there are people who have had like memories as children of things happening, and these turned out to be historical events that actually happened. And how did they know about them? Did they see this on TV? Did someone tell them? So there is some facts supporting the idea that reincarnation actually exists, and that a human soul is definitely eternal. And it could be the case that like this being that I am here may have, but see, it really, it's not something that is really perpetuous. So the key is you're alive right now, and you should start mastering your destiny right now. Now, why should you start mastering your destiny? Why should you listen to me here? The reason is because I'm actually just showing you how to live the happiest and the healthiest and the wealthiest life, and even have hopefully even a good relationship with the Creator and all of creation and your fellow human beings, and like talking about a maximally blessed way to live. Moreover, it's an immense self-empowerment in the right way for humanity, because all these totally ridiculous and pathetic and actually evil, superstitious, and also ignorant, probably mostly stemming from ignorance and unenlightened thinking, and superstition though, and also human manipulation, these false belief systems that, see, it's really kind of interesting if I express this now, because if I say this, it will sound strange, yet I will explain why I say this. It's almost like the biggest superstitious belief almost sort of stems from a true perception of reality, where there is a God. It's our Heavenly Father. God is with us, right? And at the same time, He gave us free will, and we have the ability to decide, to make good decisions instead of bad ones. But there's a problem here, that the majority of this superstition and the inability of humanity to perfect itself in the destiny of humanity to be made a good one, comes from a superstitious belief that sort of branched off the original correct perception that there is a higher power that has governance over everything, including ourselves. And it's when you leave away the fact that we actually have free will, and the free will is underestimated, so that like the false belief that there's a higher power that has a power over our lives, and we have no power in that, or nothing to say in that process, that there's an impersonal God that has power over everything, that's problematic, because it seems like you can't really change anything. God is going to decide what happens today, tomorrow. Actually, what can you do other than just simply follow the commandments, hopefully have a good, make it to heaven instead of hell, so to say. No, that's not it. God is reigning and ruling over everything. He's in us. We're created in His image and after His own likeness. And I was about to say, please subscribe to my channel here. We have free will. And we have an eternal amount of power to actually change everything for the good in accordance with God's will. Because at the end of the day, we reap what we sow. So if you're sowing good things, you're going to reap good things. If you aren't, then guess what? You're going to reap, then you aren't, and that's it. So the problem is, so what's problematic is, and probably the root cause of a lot of problems for a very long time with humans, is actually not knowing that you do have divine power and authority to change things in accordance with divine power and authority and instructions from above, right? So you can't, like, to think that, well, there's nothing we can do about it. God is going to decide this at the end of the day. No, it's like, no. God has given you the ability to decide what you do today and how you do it. And as long as you don't go against the law, you're okay. Versus thinking, what can we do? Like, wait a minute, no, you would perform even greater miracles than our boss did. You would perform even greater works. Imagine that. Resurrecting the dead. How about that? Bam! Resurrect the dead here. Wow, that was good. I'm sure the doctors and all these, doctors were real interested in how that worked. Oh, this person was dead and you resurrected them like that? Wow. Hallelujah. Good one. Yeah, that's what our boss did. The one they call Yeshua the Messiah. Jesus the Christ in English. So that happened. This stuff happened. And it was said that we would make even better things happen. And then what is that thing? I actually know what that thing is for me to make happen. And it's an immense task. It is something that can be done. It can actually be done. And I'm sort of working on it on the side a little at times. It's still crystallized. It's still becoming clear how exactly this is going to happen. So the thing is, you notice that I too have something that I have to, it's like a major thing that I'm seeking to accomplish. It's like the best thing that could ever happen. And it's something that takes a lot of detailed work. And I've begun it already. I think that should suffice for now. Okay, so once again, superstitious beliefs that there's an impersonal God that is like untouchable, where you have no ability to, it's like, if you think that God is external and is remotely guiding everything in your life and there's nothing you can do to change it, then it's wrong. That's wrong. God is within us and He even gives us wisdom and the ability to determine our destiny. If God says, hey, this is a positive commandment and this is a negative one, you're supposed to do this, you shall not kill, okay, you're not supposed to do that, instead you're supposed to do this. It's like, He's going to show you and give you tools on how to actually make this happen. And that's the thing, that's where wisdom comes in, is that wisdom actually gives you the ability to accomplish and to do whatever good thing it is, and anything technically. Though remember that it's like you reap what you sow. So you better sow good things so you reap good things, not bad things. So quite simply put, that is about it. And I think that, you have to start taking basic, safe, small, and then steady, basic steps with this. I've been practicing this for years, since 2015 now. Was that 10 years now? Actively practicing this thing of self-mastery with God's help, and it works. I've managed to accomplish things. I've managed to master different situations and become healthier, wealthier, and so on, and it works. But I got to touch on one more point for a second because of the sheer importance of it, and that is the subject that with this wisdom and, through self-mastery, right, living in harmony with the cycles of life, we actually do have the ability also to really actually live a safe and a good life, and that actually forever, till the end, so to say. It's actually possible. The reason why it's possible is because if you, what's the word? If you're organized and you navigate wisely, and you're watchful, and you coordinate you live and operate scientifically, right? Science being defined as the proper application of wisdom. If you properly apply this wisdom in your life, it's like you can send an application to a company, they'll invite you for an interview, then you will get hired and you will become wealthy. Basta. Done. Because it will all have been coordinated at the right times. When the right windows of opportunity were open, you seized these opportunities and you prospered. And it's just like this with everything in life. And the times and the details of all this, it's all written in the book. Read the book for yourself, for heaven's sake. If there's any book you're going to buy, you should buy this one that I recommended to you. Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life, right? Read that. For heaven's sake, be wise enough. Like, to ignore these instructions would be the stupidest thing anybody anywhere alive today could do. I'll tell you why, because in this book, there is so much valuable information. And, the title of master was given to somebody who could master their destiny, determine their actual fate. With God's help, of course, right? That's a serious thing. So what does that equate, though? What does this benefit us? Well, it benefits us because you no longer have to worry. You no longer have to live in fear. You're always healthy, wealthy, and more successful than you ever imagined. Now, of course, this is gradual too, because it's not like, okay, I'm standing here right now and a helicopter comes flying by and drops a crate with like $1 million in it right in front of my feet, and I just pick up the money and go there, and go and... No. It's not like that. It's like, okay, here's what you should be busy with for these next 52 days. Here's what to do. This is what you're going to work. This is how you're going to maintain your health. And here's how you're going to, and you do this and it works and you're healthy and you're wealthy. So it's like that. Okay. It's like, okay, for the next 52 days now, and then for the next year, and then obviously till I'm 144, hopefully, I know exactly what I should be doing at what time and what I shouldn't be doing at what time. It's like having a map of life, having a complete map of the universe and how it works, and being able to actually make anything work. And avoiding trying to make things work that won't work and wasting your time. Rather, you're investing your time wisely. So this is something that is actually real. And some out there might think, well, what is he talking about? How can that be? That sounds so, like supernatural or something. No, it's not. It's very basic. It's the same system that governs the tides at the ocean, the same system that governs the four seasons, the same logic, that same system. It's the cyclical nature of life. The cyclical nature of life is obvious and everywhere. It's the same system there, yet we're looking at more of it and a bigger overview of it and how it works. Now, I also have an interesting question to make. See, I have to disregard some of my own words and remember that this is about the message and not about the details of the wording, because we have a thing about words and using the right ones that have good definitions versus the other ones that are sort of booby-trapped. The English language has words that are not actually not good by their definition, yet they've sort of become normal and like, okay, different subject. Look up the thing called Iric, okay, like the Rastafari language. Okay, that's a different story. I actually ask myself, is there any other human being alive today that knows more than I know about the cycles of life? And the answer would have to be probably yes, because somebody at the end of the day, actually, what was his, H. Spencer Lewis, right? He wrote the book that contains all this information. But did you know now that this is actually like a basic guide, and that there's actually more information that you learn and gain through experience, through scientifically experimenting, right? Like every day, you're seeking to live in harmony with the cycles of life as much as possible. And then at the end of the day, you reflect And you realize, oh, that happened. Oh, interesting. Why did that happen? Oh, because that was it this time, and I should have... So you start to perfect, become better and better at living in harmony with the cycles of life, and your success level also is exponentially increased. So what I'm saying is that it's like the book contains a certain amount of basic instructions and knowledge and wisdom and information. Yet, it seems like, and I have also discovered that there's more to the cycles of life and how they work, in terms of that you gain even greater insight into how everything actually works in detail by experience and reflection, and then like scientifically experimenting and then analyzing and evaluating the data from your scientific experiments. What that is at the end of the day, you're laying in bed, you're reflecting and thinking, I realized, why did this woman say this to me today? Oh, what time was that? Oh, that was in this life cycle. Oh, it's because the tide was emptying out. It was a negative short lunar unit, and oh, really? Okay, so next time, if I want to do this, because this happened, I know why this happened, I can make this happen instead. It's like you start to become very powerful and capable of accomplishing things, right? I'm telling you, just for fun, some random examples of what this is good for, or could be used for. Knowing what I know, if it was so necessary, I could literally, it's like I could walk, I could do anything. Basically, within certain parameters of healthy boundaries in nature, right? I could literally go right now to, I don't know, the presidential palace. I could knock on the door. I would be received as a guest of honor. I could talk to the president and say, hey, look, we've got this going on. Do you realize that it would be much better if we did this, and then this would result in peace between these two countries, and people would be happier and healthier rather than going down this path here. Do you get what I'm saying? He would say, you're right, actually, okay, let's do this. Let's do this that way. It's like, that's the amount of ability you have. That's like nothing in comparison. This wisdom that I'm talking about, it's like this. It's as if it doesn't even matter who's the president or not. You have more power yourself in your hands to change history with this than like the president of the biggest country with the biggest military in the world anywhere could make happen or not make happen. Like, you can knowing this, having this wisdom and knowledge, you can single-handedly, completely and totally, and it's true though, it's actually true. You can single-handedly change and reform the entire world into a perfect world. You can create order where there was chaos, and I'm basically universally, gradually. That's it. It's like, this is such a mighty thing. A master has so much might. And see, the ability to apply it, though, has to do with being organized and actually making maps. So you actually have to map things out in your life. You have to take a big piece of paper. I'm talking about a double size sheet, not the single letter, the letter format, like the double letter format, and a ruler and a pen. You got to have the tides identified at nearest maritime port. You got to know what time it is in reality. You got to know when your birthday really is, and when it, why am I mentioning this? So you start doing this, you're looking at now 7 cycles, you're identifying exactly what ones you're in. For the next 3 hours, 25 minutes, I know exactly what can happen and what can't. Right? For the next 3 hours, 25 minutes. Okay, then, the next unit is the 6 hours, or the 12 hours, or the 3.5 days, and so on. And so so like in every time frame, we are capable, we can actually know so for the next 3 hours, 25 minutes, for the next 6 hours, for the next 12 hours, we know what state the universe is in based on the lunar units being positive or negative. We know, okay, if I do this now, I'll get help and support from everybody to do this, whereas if I do this then, it won't work. Because why? Negative unit or a positive unit. and so on and so forth, right? So like, listen, just get some of this to actually realize how important what I'm saying actually is. It's this, is that, so you can know ahead of time for certain time frames. And you know, how do you figure this out? You sit down at the desk with pen and paper and you map out the life cycles that you're in and the ones that are coming up. And so then you systematically identify windows of opportunity where if you now utilize these windows of opportunity, what happens is what you set out to accomplish within those windows of opportunity, those particular life cycles, 3 hour, 25 minute long, or, etc., you get the picture. You know what to do, and you do it, and it works. And it doesn't matter what it is, generally speaking. Or, like you coordinate everything at its proper time and it works and it bears good fruit. I've done this internationally before. I've done this to accomplish things that were the most valuable and important objectives I ever had. And now my focus has changed though. I was going to say, I can't say that though. Let's just say that whatever life goals and objectives that you have that are actually divinely inspired and that your divine calling and that are God's will, and you've really, over time identified them as being that, you can accomplish them. You just simply have to use wisdom to accomplish these things systematically, knowing that basically, actually, so in order to understand this better, you should probably get the fact that. So, if we look at human life, another way to easily explain this is the following. So everything in the universe, covering all of the spectrum of time, everything in life, everything that ever was, is, and will be, and the entire total human experience, though specifically, because that's our point of view, human being here, right? So everything in life for eternity is all actually right. It's all actually already ordered into and it already has been ordered into just a completely perfect progression, a completely perfect overall order. So what this looks like on a basic human point of view level is like this. It's like, okay, your complete and total life from the moment you were born till when your physical body goes to the grave, the entire thing, there's already an absolutely perfect and a plus perfect path that has already been automatically prepared for you to go on. And if you go on this, it doesn't limit you at all. Rather, it's as if this is like the best route, and things on this route are always better than you think. And that is actually how life is, although to avoid some of the dangers and the pitfalls and the major bad possibilities, it takes us some wisdom, it takes some knowledge of this. So it's better that we know what we know and we live disciplined and practice self-mastery than that we only live intuitively and live a relatively good life. But I'd rather know it all to a certain degree and be able to really decide, and not just know a little bit and go, okay, yeah, it's all going to work out. And it keeps working out, but there are also obstacles and dangers. And to know when they are and where they are is also part of, it's actually by wisdom. So every human, every life, every person that ever lived and will ever, and lives and ever will live, it's the same for us all. As I speak, and do you know why I'm speaking even? I'll explain why later. I challenge you to check and verify the system that I've presented to you by using my birth date. as a point of reference to identify what cycles of life I am actually in here, the presenter, right? I'll tell you that later, perhaps, so that you will actually be able to see that everything that I'm doing right now is like what was described that was going to happen, and what I would be cosmically or divinely inclined to do at this age, because I'm in these life cycles at this time right now, and this is the time for it. This is basically philanthropy. It's like what I'm doing right now. I'm more compelled to do this than anything else these days. So it's because I'm in this life cycle period where one starts to be a philanthropist and to give what one has gained, and to share that again with others. So every human, regardless when this was, past, present, future, every one of us, because of when our life began, there's a perfect path that is already prepared for us to go on. Now, this does not limit us in any way whatsoever, and it doesn't take away freedom in any way whatsoever. It actually is, it's almost like this. This is almost like, okay, there's a giant wilderness reserve. It's beautiful, and there's so many things we could go there and discover there. And yeah, if I can just go wherever I please and walk around wherever I please, I can see this, I can see that, but there's a path, and this path is a safe path that goes through all of this and avoids all of the pitfalls and problems and the disasters, potentially. And you just go on this safe path, and you still see as much as you could, and it's still as good as it could be without you going and stumbling here and there unnecessarily. That's sort of what it is. In fact, it's like a safe route that does not make it boring or less interesting or less magical. No. So every human has a path that's already in front of them that they should go on, where if they do that, it will be the easiest and the best for them, versus being off course. And once again, it is funny, but it could be less too right here. I'm in the woods right now. You see the path in front of me, right? Now, on the right, there's an embankment, and on the left, there's a steep embankment. It still is the case that it is overall easier for me to walk this way down this path than it is for me to walk like this, right? Or to walk like this. So it's actually, this is an object example. And why is this basic example here explain like the highest truth by its very simple representation? Because it's the same system. You have the same system in effect in all of the universe. And it's interesting how that works. So for every one of us, there's a path that's already been prepared that is actually perfect. And we should just go on that path and stay on that path. Now, what is the map to identify this? Well, it's presented in a book. It's in Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life. That is like giving you the map. But this is such an immense map because it's like the information in the book is sufficient so that every person can use this greater map to accomplish the highest good. So now, when I say that there's a perfect path prepared for every one of you, it does not limit you in any way whatsoever. It actually gives you greater freedom and the ability to flourish and to prosper on all levels than if you didn't follow this perfect path. Because, see, it's almost like this. Like, I can see on this path what is there. Whereas I could, you could more easily stumble over there than you could here. In fact, it's like totally different. That's hard, this is easy. And life actually is originally and totally perfect. It just has to be lived wisely. Can you imagine this? Look at the world and how it's in shambles. Actually, though, that is not the way it was supposed to be, and it's not the way that it really is. It's a result of opposite of wisdom or ignorance or stupidity, or just a reflection of the different levels of spiritual and physical evolution going on here. So the problem is that if you don't have wisdom, it's like you are in a state of mostly being ignorant as to everything that is important, and moreover to the fact that you can actually change everything to make your life really good, really quickly. Within 3 hours, folks, within 3 hours and 25 minutes, your life can be utterly transformed from anything on the spectrum in the area of total disaster to total miracle very quickly. Now, the reason why this is the case is because it's like I'm always breathing air, whether I'm like, or I'm just going. There's always a certain amount of divine providence that's readily being given, and divine providence is systematically giving us and readily actually pouring out different packages of providence, different types of providence at different times. The key is to know at what time, what type of providence is available, and then simply reach for it at that time and seize it, and you get it, and it's hallelujah time, right? So the way that this works is, I'll tell you how this works though. So like, for example, in the springtime, right, it's a time to plant the seeds, and then during summer, it's a time to take care of them, and in autumn, it's a time to harvest the fruits from these trees, from these seeds that you planted, right? So it's like, you got to understand the fact that at any given point in time, God is always giving something good, and you just have to go for what he's giving at that time and not what it isn't giving. It's almost like, okay, you know when it's going to rain and when it's not going to rain. So you don't go and try to you don't try to gather rainwater when it's not raining. You do it when it's raining. So the same thing is simply in the cycles of life, in the description of the cycles of life, in terms of the fact that there's like, during a certain daily period of 3.5 hours, it's a good time for business. And then during another time, it's not as good a time for business, but it's a time for studying and free time. So you just do what it says at the time when it says in the book, basically, whatever you're doing, and you automatically have maximum success, maximum increase, and maximum yield, because you're like a surfer who is riding the biggest, fattest, and the safest, actually, like the most stable and massive waves all the time, rather than like riding one coincidentally for a while that's pretty big, and then there's nothing and you're out there paddling or something. This to be like a master could be like a surfer who just keeps riding on the perfect wave all the time, because he knows, okay, this time, this is here now, this is the time for this, I'll go do this, I'm riding this right now, I'm riding this wave, and this one's going to keep going till this time. And before this ends, I'm going to hop on this one. And so he's like, picture a man at the ocean who's literally surfing down, right? Okay, a master could be compared to a person who's a surfer who's at the ocean, who's literally riding on a massive wave, and he keeps riding it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and this wave, it has different waves within it, and you can transfer onto the other one safely. So it's like this would be like a guy who starts on the northernmost point of the coast and surfs on this massive wave that keeps on going and turns into another one, and it's a safe transition, and he's just surfing the entire coastline for like 20 hours on a surfboard, just the entire surf. He's going like 100 miles on steadily riding this massive wave. Normally it's like a couple minutes, right? It's like I think a couple minutes, and then he's crashed, right? And you do another one or something. So you get on one, then you mount off it or something. This could be like a man who's just continuously surfing the best possible wave all the way, as long as he likes to. Do you imagine this? What I'm telling you is true. Now, this particular example, though, I know it's not very likely for you to see this happen, because, the wave goes in, comes on land, and then basically stops, right? But so, you do get the picture here. No, because based on how far out you are, you can ride a wave longer. And so this would still be like, you still get what I'm saying. So think about that. And thanks for watching. And if it's the time for it, check the time that you're in right now and see what life cycle you're in. And if so, please reshare and repost this information. Thank you. You know why I said if it's a time for that? Because guess what? There's a time when you can post something on the internet and it's not going anywhere. And there's another time when you can post something on the internet and it gets 1,000 views. Now, it's not even that I'm looking for all these views. It's that I would prefer that the information that I present reaches the right people at the right time to increase the overall maximum and highest good. That's why.